took some notes, tried to get everything going, tried to see what was happening. Some of the things I like. Cam Smith, we were hoping he was a second-round pick last year, didn't play at all. Was it Vic Fangio that had him in the doghouse? Or is he just not that good? Well, he's been hurt, so we didn't get to see him again last night. But Ethan Bonner, who everyone has been raving about, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, the coaches, Ethan Bonner, he's a cornerback. Yes, he is a skinny white dude, but he apparently is the fastest guy on the team. Played pretty well, other than the one time he got burnt. And I don't know if you saw it, Vlad. He claims that they tugged on his jersey. Well, you're not going to get calls in this league until you get a good reputation. So Ethan Bonner, though, I thought overall, like you said, Vlad, he wasn't afraid to mix it up a little bit and tackle some people. Thought he played well at the cornerback position. Nick Needham, too. Nick Needham, he's our nickel and dime guy. He played a lot last night, too. I thought he was really good. Obviously, he's more of a starter than anybody else. I thought all the quarterbacks on both teams did not even show a glimmer of like Michael Penix Jr., you were hoping to see maybe every once in a while, like, oh, look, he kind of has a little something right there. No. And I said it last night, Taylor Heineke, they might as well cut. He was so bad.
I was trying to figure out, I was like, dude, the Falcons have 3 quarterbacks.
They're all terrible.
I didn't see Kurt.
Well, Kurt's just sitting on the sidelines.
Penix, that was his first week. But I'm just saying, Penix is eventually going to be number 2. Why have Heineke there?
They're going to have to cut him. He was god-awful last night. Skylar Thompson was very inconsistent. He threw the ball to the other team one time, really twice, but one time he got picked, and they had to almost pick 6. Then he would make a good pass. Then he'd make a bad pass. Then he'd make a bad pass. Then he'd make a good pass. He wasn't really great. Mike White, can't really say because he's throwing to guys that probably aren't even going to make the practice squad. So it's not like, but some of his passes were really off target, Vlad. I don't know if you noticed. A couple guys almost got murdered.
Oh, no, he was setting his boys up. He was trying to get them. He was lining them up to get hurt.
Yeah.
And, but that was the weird thing about watching the game is because it's like, really look at the Dolphins. And I was talking to Omar before the game, Omar Kelly from the Herald, and it was what is there really to watch? And he's like, he wants to watch the line, and then there was a lot of players that he wanted to watch on the line, and they ended up not playing. Like, dude, I'm trying to figure out, like, damn, are the Dolphins that deep that a lot, like their second stringers were not playing yesterday?
Yeah,
there's a lot of guys that were not playing yesterday, and you're like, some of these guys should be playing.
Yeah, I really thought guys like Chop Robinson and stuff and Mo Kamara would get some run.
I definitely thought a 4th rounder Mo Kamara would get, but they gave that was weird. You gave the 2nd rounder the whole game, and then a 4th rounder who just needed some snaps just to see what kind of pressure you could put on the quarterback,
just to get some game run. But the 2 stars of the game, and maybe this is some optimism, the 2 stars of the game were 2 rookies for the Dolphins. Number 1, 2nd-round pick out of Houston, Patrick Paul, offensive lineman, played basically the whole game. I was very, very happy with the way he played. Number 1, he looked big, he looked strong, he looked the part. His hands, you're getting him on some guys. But like I told you, Vlad, I like that he was finishing down the field. He was going to the whistle. He wasn't just kind of blocking or holding guys up. He was really kind of getting after it. And even Mike White, you got some audio for us post-game we played last night. Even Mike White was like, straight up, didn't even mince his words, goes, Patrick Paul was awesome. Straight up, just said it right out the gate. Can't complain about that. And Jalen Wright, I was a little skeptical about Jalen Wright. Now, he did lead the country last year at the University of Tennessee with yards per carry, so that's a positive. But I, for some reason, had heard or thought that he was going to be a carbon copy of Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane. He looks a little thicker and stronger and looks very decisive. He looked good on that touchdown run last night. So that's some optimism if you're a Dolphins fan. The 2 best players in the game, at least noteworthy players, were your 2 rookies that really got in there and played. So I was very, very happy about that. Saran Neal looked pretty good. Of course, we got him from Buffalo. He's a special teams expert. He got the opening tackle on the opening kickoff of the game. Plus, he had a fumble recovery and the strips. So that was interesting. Of course, he also got hurt, had to leave the game. Jason Sanders not almost. He made a 58-yard field goal at the beginning of the game. Very proud of that. He attempted a 58-yard field goal. And I was like, if he makes 2 58-yard field goals, even in preseason, that's pretty good. He did not come close on that second one, Vlad. I don't know if you watched that. How can you be so good on the first one and so off on the second one? I'm
like, okay, that was the other thing, Kuzi. I was like, oh, wow. Buddy he hit a 58-yard field goal.
Like it was nothing.
Like it was nothing. I'm like, oh, well, then there's nothing to complain about. Jason Sanders looks like he's ready. He's mid-season form. Like, give him credit last year. He had some 50-yarders last year. He won the Cowboys game. If it wasn't for him, it was, he hit the 58-yarder. Okay. If a guy could hit from 58 yards, that basically means any possession you get to the 40
with that offense,
yeah,
should be able to get a couple of yards here and there.
3 points is always good. It's always good to add 3 points than not. And then he missed that second one, and that second one was nasty. Like he shanked it.
He was going to be my player of the game if you'd have made that.
If he had 2 58-yarders, forget about it. You play the game.
Whoop,
you're like, your special teams is good. The other thing I don't like.
There's a lot of things I liked.
I don't like the kickoff.
I like it.
You do?
Yep.
Now I'm gonna tell you why I don't like the kickoff. It can work. It can actually work. But there's 2 defenders who get unblocked that is just basically gonna mess up the play. If you can get by that first defender that's unblocked, who always makes the tackle, then you've got something, because then there's another defender and the kicker. But other than that, bro, everybody's getting tackled the minute the special team players makes a move. He's getting tackled. You're starting at the 26, 28-yard line.
So this is my feeling on that. Number one, by the time it comes week 5, you're going to forget what the old kickoff looked like, and it's just going to be business as usual. Number 2, I'm afraid that what's going to happen is they know if you kick it into the end zone or kick it out of the end zone, it's automatically to the 30-yard line. It's going to end up being that over and over and over again, because coaches like to know that what they can scheme for and what is guaranteed. So, okay, maybe you give up an extra yard or 2 or 3 here and there, but to know that you got everything set at the 30-yard line and no risk of return, that's one of those things I think that coaches eventually, as they play around with it in the preseason, when it gets to the regular season, they're probably not going to play around with it, and they're going to kick it into the end zone, and there's going to be a whole lot of touchbacks. And that's why you're going to say, whatever. Another thing that I like that some people are questioning, I don't know if you got to see it live because you were in the press box, but then they tried the whole virtual measuring instead of the chain gang.
I did not see that. I did not see that.
So they're not doing it in every preseason game. They're trying it in certain preseason games. And last night, the Dolphins Falcons game was one of those games. So Skylar Thompson, it was a 4th down, ran for it, looked like he got it.
Yes. Okay. So I did not see the what you just called it?
The virtual measure?
The virtual measurement. But they just showed the old school measurement, and we just they just showed the video, and we were like, oh, he didn't make it. Like his foot went out of bounds, and the ball was in his, I want to say, right hand.
Right hand, yeah.
Right hand. So when he went out of bounds, the ball did not get over that the marker, or where the line of the first down marker was. So yeah, but I didn't see it how it was described on television, because I think Goldie and Bocamper had the call locally here. So I didn't know what they were saying.
So basically, it's the same technology that we see in tennis all the time, that, it'll basically tell. The problem was they spotted the ball wrong. The technology was right. You can't challenge the technology because it's technology. The thing is, Raheem Morris challenged the spot of the ball. That's where that came back. That's what it came back. But he would have gotten the first down where they originally spotted it, but the spot was wrong. So they had to bring it back. Then he didn't get it. But basically, it's going to happen. And for those that love the chain gang and are traditionalists, once again, 5 weeks into the season, you're going to forget that chain gangs ever existed.
But dog, man, it's just taking money out of people.
I know.
It's like you know what, I put this way the other day, going through this Sawgrass. I was like, you know what? I missed the agent. I missed the toll agent.
So if it cost your team a Super Bowl because of bad measurement and we had the technology to get it right, would you be upset? Yeah, you would.
Listen, human error is always part of the game.
Yeah, I can't take well, you can take that out now.
I can't take the 1985 World Series away from the Kansas City Royals.
They're still going to have the chain gangs there. They're just not going to be running out on the field and doing.
Why don't you get younger guys? That's the thing. That's wrong. That's ageism. They were trying to take the old people out. That's why they're trying to get this technology. That's ageism by the NFL. Low key.
Oh, okay. Some other standout things. I know one game preseason. I did for at least the one game. I like the scheme. I like the toughness of Anthony Weaver's defense. I like the fact, the way they played. Once again, it's just an eye test. It doesn't really mean anything, but at least it was somewhat positive. It bended a little bit, but it didn't break. They had a couple of stands inside the red zone that I thought were pretty decent. all the quarterbacks were terrible. So what can you say? I did like the fact that I saw Anthony Weaver and Mike McDaniel talking to each other on the sideline.
What do you mean?
Well, remember, Mike McDaniel and Vic Fangio were never seen talking.
Well, Vic was upstairs.
That's what I'm saying.
So,
I like the fact that they were talking.
Some guys are upstairs, some guys are downstairs.
There was a big narrative that last year there was a disconnect between Vic Fangio
there
and Mike
was
McDaniel.
a disconnect.
Okay,
but no.
These guys are talking. I liked it.
There's a disconnect, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the person's got to be downstairs like by your ear.
I was just saying I like the fact that they're right next to each other talking about things.
Yeah, that's cool. As long as you can make sure you have a top 10 defense, because all that talking ain't going to mean nothing.
On the defensive end, I was actually pretty impressed with Patrick McMorris out of Cal, defensive back. I thought he played pretty decently, for once again that. And Malik Washington. Everyone's been talking about Malik Washington being so great. He's a rookie 6th round pick out of Virginia. It's going to be really hard for him to make the team, Vlad. It's a good story, but it's going to be really hard for him to make the team.
It's going to be hard for anybody to make that team.
I mean, look at the receivers that you already have. I just, let's pump the brakes just a little bit on Malik Washington. Good story, but I don't know if he makes this team, at least on the 53-man roster. And last but not least, we've already said this, no quarterback controversy for either team. Michael Penix Jr. did not show glimmers. Skylar Thompson did not show glimmers. He was very inconsistent. Mike White, and that's going to be interesting, Vlad. I'm kind of, I know that's a neck and neck battle they're saying for quarterback too. Not really fair. Skylar Thompson played the first half. Mike White played the second half. I'm guessing a week from today, they're going to flip-flop them. I'm guessing that Mike White will get the start.
Maybe not.
Okay, I'm guessing that's what they're going to do. And after that, then I can better assess
Here's what I overheard or was sensing.
Ooh.
I'm beginning to sense that next week's game against Washington might be the starters.
Oh, it's a dress rehearsal.
Dress rehearsal game.
But no week 3 then.
Well, then week 3 would probably be between Skylar and Mikey Blanco.
But they get those 2 weeks off.
I know, but
that's why I love you there.
I just talked to the people. That it's not about that. I was like, hey, what's going on? I was like, hey, Skylar started yesterday. So I'm going by, our boy and Leroy, who you can hear every Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on the Tobin and Leroy show. Leroy had said Mike White, since he's the vet, was going to be the one to start week 1 preseason. And it wasn't that. It was Skylar that did. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, by that theory, next week Mike White would start. Skylar would play in the second half. Then I asked CP, Chris Perkins from the Sun Sentinel. He thinks next Saturday against Washington will be the dress rehearsal.
Nice.
Even though I was like, really? It's 3 weeks though. So maybe they might get a possession or two next week and then do the whole first half in the third preseason game. But don't be shocked if you see the starters play on Saturday.